Smithville, Mississippi, 3:42 p.m. After producing a long-tracked EF3 tornado that passed near New Wren, the same supercell produced another twister just 3 miles west-southwest of Smithville, along the Tennessee-Tombigbee Waterway.
This is a serious and possibly deadly situation if you don't treat it seriously.
2 minutes later, the residents of Smithville would face their worst nightmare, snapping trees near the Smithville recreation area and scouring the ground with terrifying force. As it approached town, it rapidly intensified into a catastrophic EF5, all in under 3 minutes, when the 3/4-mile-wide tornado, with winds reaching up to 75 miles per hour, struck the small town of Smithville, which was only 1.6 square miles in area. Its destructive impact was like no other storm in the outbreak. It was the first tornado of such extreme strength to strike Mississippi since 1966. Crossing Davis Road south, it carved out an entire field, leaving behind a trench so deep that it remained visible in aerial images even a year later. With winds peaking at 205 miles per hour, the beast charged northeast along Mississippi Highway 25. Its first fatality came when a bed and breakfast was obliterated. The twister tore multiple structures from the ground. Even well-anchored brick houses couldn't withstand the pressure and were swept away. An RV that came in the vortex's path was hurled 250 yards and embedded in the ground. Another truck was ripped apart with only its bumper left dangling on the Smithville water tower. The monster winds ripped out plumbing lines from the ground, peeled away tiles from floors, and tore sill plates from the base. All of it evidence of forces far beyond ordinary tornado damage. The rotational force of the winds even knocked granite tombstones in the opposite direction of the tornado's movement. By the time it passed, 117 structures lay completely destroyed. The city hall, the post office, 4 churches, the police station, the water system, and countless businesses and homes. Vehicles were tossed hundreds of yards, twisted beyond recognition, or wrapped around trees.
Everything was gone. There were people screaming for help everywhere. We tried to help who we could help because the EMTs, nobody could get in here to us, is what they were telling us when we tried to call them. And I actually walked up on 3 that had passed away, and then there were 20 or more screaming for help.
After destroying countless lives, the tornado finally weakened as it approached the rural areas northeast of town, crossing into Itawamba County. It then continued into Alabama's Marion County, causing EF1 damage near Bear. However, it strengthened again to an EF3 as it struck Scottsville. The violent winds tore through communities for 41 minutes, leveling countless homes before finally dissipating near Hodges at 4:23 p.m. When the winds died down, the EF5 tornado had left behind a 37-mile-long damage path across Mississippi and Alabama with 23 fatalities. It was one of the most intense tornadoes ever recorded and the strongest of the entire 2011 super outbreak. Smithville was annihilated in minutes. But did you think this was the end? Just minutes later, another monster vortex set its sights on Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Alabama. 4:43 p.m., a supercell produced a large wedge tornado in rural Greene County, Alabama. With an intensity of EF2, it moved adjacent to Tuscaloosa County, uprooting countless trees and causing damage to structures.
There it is. It's on the ground.
That's a tornado on the ground.
It's on the ground.
You can see the rotation.
Okay, Tuscaloosa, this is becoming a large tornado. It is on the ground. It is now moving very quickly towards the north and east. You are watching live footage of this tornado on the ground headed towards the city of Tuscaloosa.
Meteorologist John Oldshoe captured astonishing footage of the wedge near Union, giving viewers a unique chance to witness the phenomenon live on TV. Its massive wedge shape was broadcast on television screens everywhere, making it one of the most widely seen tornadoes in history. This was also the first video evidence that the tornado had touched ground. The NWS immediately declared an emergency, allowing residents in the area to take cover and brace for impact.
This is a tornado emergency. Take cover immediately. This tornado will be arriving in the city of Tuscaloosa within the next minute or two.
5:10 p.m. The storm had finally moved towards the southern and eastern parts of Tuscaloosa. Sky-based cameras and a ground-based camera crew were following its every movement. Unlike most tornadoes that tore through the rural areas, this one slammed directly into a city of 90,000. It started off as an EF4 intensity tornado, crossing 35th Street, and gutted a cell phone tower and multiple warehouses in an industrial area. While the Tuscaloosa Police Department headquarters was saved from the tornado's wrath, the County Emergency Management Office wasn't so lucky. It sustained a direct hit and was wrecked completely, along with most of its equipment and vehicles. Ashley Harrison, just days away from graduating from the University of Alabama, was staying in a rental home in Tuscaloosa. When the tornado struck, she took shelter inside, clinging to the hope that she would make it through. But the violent winds tore her home apart and hurled her 65 yards away. Ashley was an only child, and her loss left a void her family could never fill. But hers was just one of the countless tragedies. Across Tuscaloosa, the tornado shattered families, leaving behind grieving parents, children, and siblings. The beast moved through Rosedale and Forest Lake, leveling and sweeping away homes. Many apartment complexes were leveled. A few two-story apartment buildings were reduced to rubble.
There's a large wedge tornado that is live on our tower cam atop the Tuscaloosa County Courthouse, and this is making a beeline for downtown Tuscaloosa. Velocities continue to be almost maxed out. The delta on the radar is about 150 knots, and again, this is a very serious situation.
Despite the destruction it had already caused, the tornado remained strong at EF4 and crossed the intersection of 15th Street and McFarland Boulevard, creating havoc everywhere it went. It maintained its strength as it continued through the neighborhood of Alberta City. By Holt, the tornado had widened to a full mile. Every tree, even those deep in ravines, was snapped. As it crossed Hurricane Creek, the whirlwind shredded a massive railroad trestle and flung a 34-ton steel truss more than 100 feet up a hill. The nearby marina on Holt Lake also took a massive hit before the tornado weakened slightly into EF3. The twister's fury didn't end there. It plowed into thick woodland, shredding trees by the thousands and wiping out scattered rural houses on its way to Birmingham.
If you're in West Jefferson County, bear that in mind. This is a dangerous storm. Okay, by 6 o'clock, that storm moving toward Legion Field, moving toward downtown Birmingham. That's by 6 o'clock. So right there, this storm, if it holds together, is going to make a beeline for downtown Birmingham.
When the tornado entered Jefferson County, it regained its EF4 strength. By this time, the vortex had reached peak intensity and width. It was one of the largest and most visually terrifying tornadoes of the outbreak. 6 p.m. The tornado moved across the western and northern suburbs of Birmingham, damaging homes to a catastrophic level. Concord, Pleasant Grove, McDonald Chapel, and northern Birmingham suffered severe damage.
Large wedge tornado, violent tornado. We've heard about extreme damage in Birmingham, Alabama. This is the same tornado that passed through Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We saw a huge debris ball when that occurred. We've been watching this wedge tornado for more than half an hour. It is now passing to the north of Birmingham, Alabama.
Entire sections of town were wiped away. In one coal yard, a 35-ton rail car was hurled nearly 400 feet. After passing the coal yard, the tornado weakened to EF2, but still managed to destroy several pier and beam foundations, homes, and warehouses in McDonald Chapel. From there, it moved to Pratt City and Fultondale until weakening significantly along U.S. Route 31. The twister eventually lifted 2 miles north of Tarrant. This tornado remained active for an hour and 31 minutes, killing 44 people in Tuscaloosa and 20 in Birmingham, and leaving more than 1,500 injured. It was one of the longest track tornadoes of the 2011 super outbreak and the second deadliest after Hackleburg Phil Campbell. But there was no end in sight. Already having claimed hundreds of lives, another beast was preparing its fury on Rainsville, Sylvania, Alabama. 5:45 p.m. A supercell thunderstorm in northeastern Alabama began to intensify. 6:10 p.m. An initial severe thunderstorm warning was issued for the region. As conditions worsened, another tornado warning was issued for the Lakeview community and surrounding areas. 6:19 p.m. A funnel finally touched down in Lakeview, northeast of Geraldine.
We do have a tornado on the ground in Geraldine moving northeast.
It began by inflicting light damage to trees and a few buildings. As it moved toward Fife, however, the tornado displayed multiple vortices, alternating between the horizontal subvortices and a solid wedge shape. By the time it reached Fife, the tornado had intensified to EF3 strength, causing significant tree damage near Beulah Baptist Cemetery and severe destruction to homes in the area. It then tracked toward Shiloh, growing wider and stronger along Heaton Road. Now an EF5, the tornado turned catastrophic, completely demolishing a metal farm building and uprooting multiple homes. It maintained this ferocity as it exited Shiloh and bore down on Rainsville. By now, the vortex had widened from 50 yards to half a mile, an indication that Rainsville didn't stand a chance against the violent winds blowing at 200 miles per hour. Homes, businesses, and public facilities were erased so completely that not even debris was left behind. This tornado was turning into one of the most violent tornadoes of the 2011 super outbreak. Vehicles were hurled hundreds of yards, mangled beyond recognition. A school bus was flung across a highway and stripped down to its bare chassis. The multi-vortex tornado tore through Rainsville for 36 minutes, carving a 36.63-mile path and leaving widespread destruction across town.
It was about 3 minutes, and it changed our whole life. It changed from being homeless and out of work.
When you get up and the only wall standing is the one that you're on, it's
and you look up and you can see the sky from a basement.
Yeah.
That's very terrifying. There's no second floor, no...
Nothing.
A Huddle Horse restaurant was reduced to rubble, with only one wall left standing. Plainview High School suffered $15 million in damages. Debarked trees, shredded mobile homes, and gutted residences marked the tornado's path across town. East of downtown, along Lingerfelt Road, the winds unleashed their full fury. It tore apart a stone house, its stone pillar uprooted, and a massive section of its concrete foundation ripped from the ground. The pavement itself was scoured, and multiple homes were erased. An 800-pound safe was ripped from its anchoring inside a house, carried 600 feet into a wooded area, and found with its heavy steel door completely torn off. The storm continued northeast toward neighborhoods and county roads 515 and 441, leaving widespread destruction in its wake. In eastern Sylvania, the Mountain View Baptist Church was obliterated, along with many surrounding homes. Tragically, a couple inside one of them was thrown into an open field and did not survive. The twister then crossed southeast of Henniger and Eider, debarking trees and destroying part of Blake Community Church.
Just look at the magnitude of that. I mean, that, eyeballing it, looks to be, 300, 400 yards wide.
It's ginormous.
It is huge.
It began to shrink rapidly as it crossed into Georgia near Fox Mountain. After carving an additional 3 miles of destruction through Rising Fawn, the tornado finally lifted just outside the community at 6:55 p.m. The Rainsville tornado was the fourth and final EF5 of the 2011 super outbreak. The multi-vortex twister remained active for 36 minutes, leaving behind a 36-mile-long destruction path across DeKalb County. The relentless winds claimed 25 lives in the area and caused almost $10 million in damage. People wanted to believe the worst was over, but nature had other plans. April 28, 2011, 12 a.m. Near midnight on April 27, 2011, an intense EF3 vortex developed north of Alps Road, about 2.17 miles southwest of Alvaton. At the same time, an EF2 tornado was tracking through southern Meriwether County. The EF3 barreled through the small community of Vaughan. In less than a minute, the entire community was devastated beyond recognition. Over a dozen homes were destroyed, and many others were badly damaged. Continuing northeast with EF3 strength, the funnel cloud briefly crossed into Henry County, finally lifting 2 miles southeast of Hampton at 12:28 a.m. Just 10 minutes later, another EF3 tornado touched down 4 miles south of Meansville in south central Pike County. It carved a destructive path across Pike, Lamar, Monroe, and Butts counties before finally lifting southeast of Butts County at 1:15 a.m. 47 twisters struck that day, and while they weren't as devastating as the day before, 3 precious lives were still lost, and many residents sustained serious injuries. When the skies cleared on April 28, the true scale of destruction was revealed.
The huge outbreak of tornadoes in late April 2011 was so bad that it earned a special name, Super Outbreak of 2011.
First responders who were here were so busy pulling the living from all of this debris, they were forced to ignore the dead. That's how bad this is. You can hear the sound of smoke detectors in the distance, but no one's here. There's the smell of death.
The 2011 super outbreak became the largest and costliest tornado outbreak in history. 368 tornadoes across 21 states, leaving behind $10.2 billion in damage. But beyond the wreckage, it was the human cost that cut the deepest. 348 lives were lost, and thousands more were forever changed. Survivors stepped into a world of ruin, tasked with rebuilding not just their homes, but their entire way of life. The scars of April 2011 remain, a haunting reminder of nature's fury and the resilience of those who endured it.
I knew where that storm was. I knew the direction it was heading, and I knew my baby was in that path.